Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 5th episode of Campers and Vans Getting Coffee. This episode's cool because I have Will from Willbillys on, and he has got some credentials. It's cool. He owns the #1 Airbnb in the state of West Virginia. It's one of the buses that he's converted, and he uses it as an Airbnb. Plus, he has been featured in Popular Mechanics, so he's had an article in there, which is pretty cool. And now he's working on a comprehensive skoolie book. So it's like a whole, book about converting a bus and how to do that. He'll go into budgeting, all that kind of stuff. So it's super cool. We'll talk about that and get into that book and what that's all about. But he just gives a bunch of practical and actionable advice in this episode if you are looking to build your own school bus or van or anything. He particularly enjoys buses and recommends buses, but that's his recommendation. He'll get into that about why he prefers a bus. But that's it. It's a fun episode with a lot of good details that I think you can get going in right now that'll really help people who are getting started with their conversion and all kinds of stuff like that. So without further ado, we will start the interview with Will. Thank you. Here he is. Let's go. Okay, hello. How's it going, Will? How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for being on the show. Super appreciate you coming on here.
My pleasure.
So why don't we just start by you telling me a little bit about what you do and kind of your background and stuff. Like, just give us a general overview of yourself, if you can,
Sure, no problem. Well, I'm a 33-year-old man from West Virginia, and for the last 3 years, I've been an Airbnb host with a school bus that I made into a livable structure. And originally, I had planned on that school bus being something I could use personally, but now I use it for the Airbnb because it helps pay for my college loans and stuff. So my girlfriend and I decided to find a bus for ourselves to use, and we renovated a short bus, which is a little bigger than a van, but you can stand up in it. And eventually we took that across country all the way up to Washington State and then down through San Diego and then back up towards Maine. And we had a great time in it, which we decided to upgrade for a bigger bus, which can fit our dogs. So we sold the short bus after driving it 10,000 miles in less than a month.
Whoa.
And we purchased a bigger bus that has around 7 more feet on the inside lengthwise. So we've been working on that bus. And in the process of that transpiring, we had a gentleman from Popular Mechanics reach out to us and ask us if we'd be interested in doing a photo shoot with them for a cool article on do-it-yourself kind of people who get together with friends and work on vans, buses, etc. So we went with that and had a great time meeting up with the editor and his photographers, and it was super cool to see us in a magazine. And then after that happened, I got contacted by a book company who has asked me to put together a skoolie book. And skoolie is the term for school bus conversions. So I willfully said, of course I'll do this. And I recently just bought the bus that will be featured in that book. So as of right now, I have 3 buses and a pile of good friends who have buses or vans. And we're just the type of folks who like to be mobile if we need to, or just simple in our lifestyles. So all in all, that's my passion, and I'm really loving it.
Wow, man, that is cool. That's an awesome story. So you originally had the shorter school bus, the skoolie,
yeah,
and then decided you want the longer one, and now do you still have the short one, and that's what you use for Airbnb? Is that right?
Well, we originally have a medium-sized bus, which is our Airbnb bus, and it has never really been driven very much because as soon as I finished fixing this bus up, so many people were telling me to check out Airbnb. I said, okay, I'll check it out. And it immediately booked, and that is now the #1 Airbnb in the state of West Virginia. So
nice.
It's definitely something that has taken on a life of its own. And the bus that we bought immediately after realizing that we weren't going to get to use our Airbnb bus for personal use, that's the one that we did our big road trip in. And that one, unfortunately, is sold. But it went to a good friend of ours who's a teacher, and she goes to all these music festivals. So we always see our old bus all the time. So gone but not forgotten.
Yeah, right. Cool. So
and the new one that we're working on is looks similar. It's just a little bigger. It has our trademark wood siding and says Willbillys at the top, which is kind of our name of our Instagram page, and just property and lifestyle. We kind of encompass everything with that. Since my name's Will, and we're kind of hillbillies, but we're kind of hippies, and we're kind of whatever we want to be. So Willbillys is our motto.
You just embrace the Willbillys. That's you. That's your where you live and everything. Awesome, man. Mm-hmm. Dude, well, this is cool. Like this story, I like how you just kind of built it, and then you built this bus, you put it on Airbnb because people told you should, and then it just got super popular. It's just so cool how it kind of like organically, you just got really good and successful at all this stuff. It's awesome.
It's true. It's very organically took place. It's like I planted a seed and it just grew, and now it's so big, and I just kind of keep watering it. So
cool. Well, I mean, it sounds like you're, sort of the master on converting school buses. So I really want to get some info and some tips on you on like all that you've learned and discovered, and your best ways to build out buses. Is that cool?
Sure. Yeah, totally.
So first off, why school buses? Why not a van, or why not like an existing RV and gutting it and doing your own thing in it? Or why did you decide on a school bus? Is there any reason?
Well, I decided on a school bus partly because I've always liked big vehicles, but more so because I saw it as a structure that was able to be fully standing up inside of.
Right.
And also, they're really cheap to buy used. I had the idea without knowing what the cost would be, and I looked it up. I was like, wow, I can find a bus for like a couple $1,000s.
Wow,
so,
nice.
And an RV, I'm kind of against the RV reconstruction. It's just a cool old Airstream, simply because of how they're built. I tend to be the type of guy to go out in the woods, and things might happen to my vehicle by accident, like a branch might land on it, or I might bump into something. But the bus's rigidity is 10 times what an RV is. But also the van life is really cool. I'm totally down for the super micro lifestyle. We've had a couple vehicles that we've camped in with truck campers on the back, and we have a Honda Element that we go and camp in sometimes overnight, and we got a couple friends with vans that we've borrowed and things. But it just seems like the school bus thing is kind of our style, I guess, and now that we've done a few of them, it's second nature.
Cool. I mean, it makes sense, dude. It's just a good bones to start with, and then build whatever you want inside. It's a good size and squared off and everything too, right?
Yeah, the inside of a bus, once you gut everything out of it, is metal framed, easy to build out as far as your angles. There's not a lot of curves and random humps where the gas filler might be on a van, or seatbelt brackets that you have to kind of cover up. It's a pretty flat, empty space when you get it all. And, that's one of the hardest parts of doing a bus conversion is the demolition, because they build them so tough on the inside. Even the seats are sometimes attached with 10 or 11 bolts each. There's millions, it seems like, of rivets and screws holding on to little panels that hide the insulation that obviously you'd want to take out and replace, because it's, not the best insulation, and it's old and corroded, moist. So, and the idea of recycling something that would otherwise be thrown away is exciting. And a reclaimed, repurposed old bus that was well kept by a fleet bus garage that didn't have to pinch pennies to buy tires or water pumps and things like that. They're well maintained. So
right, that's a good point. So where do you get your buses? Do you just kind of search Craigslist, the internet for it, or do you have sort of a process for getting them?
There's really no process as much as there is just a hunt. So I'll hunt Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, public surplus websites, people's backyards, old mechanic shops. I'll drive past someone's house and be like, "Whoa, there's a bus back there," and I'll knock on the door. You got to just have to have a keen eye for these buses. There's a couple of sites that'll specialize in selling used school buses, but you can expect to pay 2 or 3 times more than what you could possibly find one if you just wait and be patient and wait for the right one to show up. And you also have to be careful when you're buying a bus not to jump on the first one that you see, because there's a lot of elements that are important when considering a bus, such as how fast it can go on the highway and whether or not it has rust underneath the floor when you take all the old rubber up, things like that. I've oftentimes seen people, jump the gun on a bus all excited, and then 2 months later when they're fixing it all up, they realize, wow, we should have got a different bus. So
yeah. So what's the drivability like of a bus? Are they, comfortable going down the highway? Are they pretty? Is it kind of driving like an old truck, or how's it feel going down? Is it easy to drive? Are they manuals, or what's the deal?
Well, there's all the above, man. You can get a bus that has a manual transmission and wind through the gears like you're in a semi truck, and it feels like you're driving a building down the road, and it's really loud. Or you can find a bus that's an automatic, a little newer, and you're like, oh, this is like a big van. It just is something that you have to test drive and realize what its personality is. I just drove a 1996 school bus that used to be a handicap bus, 30 feet long. I drove it 7 hours home yesterday, and it was really loud on the inside because the engine was doing a high RPM because the gearing for the bus was originally spec'd out for a mountainous region. So unfortunately, I could only do around 62 miles per hour, which really isn't that bad for a big bus, but my RPMs were up so high that my gas mileage was around 7.5 to 8 miles per gallon. But I do have a personal bus that I'm driving that I waited to find, and it will do 70 miles an hour, and it gets around 13 miles per gallon. And it's a beautiful bus, nice and quiet. It's like a big van on the inside, but you really have to ask yourself what you're going to use the bus for before shopping for one. If you're looking for an extra guest room on your property, go for it. It doesn't matter what kind of engine transmission it has. But if you're looking for something to drive to festivals in the summertime, maybe not concern yourself too much with the engine and the transmission and the highway speeds. But if you're looking to live in it and cruise America full time, definitely hold out for the right bus.
Yeah, definitely makes sense, man. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned it was Popular Mechanics that kind of documented you guys? Yeah.
Popular Mechanics came out with an article, and this was back in this past summer. It was June of 2017 actually, and the article was titled "The Van Handlers," and that's kind of what our nickname is for our group of friends who camp in our cars, vans, buses, vanagons, stuff like that. So we're from the eastern panhandle of West Virginia, so we're kind of spin on words. Around here, we're called we live in the panhandle, so we just threw a V on the front and then call it the Van Handlers. And it was a 4-page spread in the magazine, tons of cool pictures, and it was just so nice to get a magazine in the mail that I've subscribed to and as a child, and I open it up and there I am. I'm in the magazine, so that was super exciting. And then after that, I got some feedback from a couple. There was a TV company that wanted to pitch a TV show, and we made it to like 4 steps close to becoming a real TV show, and then they kind of backed off. And I think another TV network picked up a show somewhere out west, so that kind of faded away. Which I'm in a way happy, because I don't know if my lifestyle, if I'd have time to do a whole TV program.
Mm-hmm. Man, well, it sounds like you're definitely onto something. This is cool. And then you mentioned go ahead.
Yeah, it's not just something I'm onto. I think it's our whole culture. I grew up where people would laugh at the quote from Saturday Night Live. I live in a van down by the river, but now that's the cool thing to do.
Yeah, right.
So, and I'm a natural born fort builder as a kid. You come over to my house, there's no video games, and then, action figures. We're out in the yard building risky structures to camp and live in for a night. So now I get to do that, but I'm 33 years old. So
yeah, right, man.
And it's popular. So best case scenario for me.
Yeah, it's perfect. You've been training for this your whole life.
Yeah, sure have. A lot of trial and error.
Cool. So what's the book going to be about? Is that just sort of, are you going to document basically the whole build process of this new bus?
Yeah, definitely. That's why I bought the bus that I drove home yesterday. That's the one that's going to be featured in the book. I'll spend the next few months writing the manuscript, and then this summer on the weekends, I'll schedule out steps in the build out process, and there'll be a photographer that comes to the property and documents things as we go along. And the bus is on a budget, so it's kind of reflective of the type of folks who would want to have a school bus conversion done in the first place. I think if you have a $60,000 budget, even a $25,000, $30,000 budget, you're probably more likely to jump on a nice RV, a big camper, or maybe even a tiny house. So if you are, able to afford a year's rent and put towards a bus, then that's kind of what my budget's going to be. It's $9,000. So I have $2,500 in the bus that I bought, probably another $1,000 fixing it up. So that's going to leave me with around $4,500 or $5,000 thereabouts for the interior and fixing it all up. Solar panels and hot water heater, wood stove, mattress, furniture, stuff you need to get by. But it won't be as luxurious as a home. I think that's one thing that people need to realize when they make the move to van culture, tiny house culture. You're going to be giving up some things, but you're getting so much more back from life as far as your time and saving money and just being able to live at your own pace.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's so cool that you're doing it with the with all the budgeting in mind too, because that's a huge component for everybody. You got to super think about that. So that's killer that you're doing that. So I mean, do you think you could kind of give us a summarized sneak peek into what the build process looks like? Like, let's say someone just bought their bus, just brought it home. What do they do? Can you kind of walk us through a quick little step-by-step of what that looks like?
Sure. If you're a young couple and you have a school bus you just picked up and you're really excited, first thing you're going to want to do is get all the seats out of it. So, and removing the seats, as each seat comes out of the bus, you're going to see your floor plan expand. And then once you get the seats out, you start taking the side panels off and taking the old insulation out. Then you water test it with a hose, make sure there's no leaks, and there probably will be some leaks. So you're going to put your caulking down around the windows, and you're just going to make it watertight structure. You're doing all the finish work that you do if you were building a house once it's all framed up. So once you get it gutted and the seats all out, then you can start doing the fun stuff, like getting a roll of masking tape and taping off your little areas in the bus. Like, this is where my bed's going to be. You tape off where the bed will be. You're going to tape off where the bathroom might be, or the sofa, or the kitchen. And that's the fun stuff. And then once you have an idea, you can start looking. And my advice to folks is to look always for something that is recycled or reclaimed, and you'll be able to save money. Because when you're doing such a small vehicle, odds are if you live in an area where there's a lot of big houses, there's always somebody who bought too much vinyl flooring or laminate flooring, or has an extra pile of 2x4s. And you can always find things used, I think, to really make that budget. And that also gives you time, because you're waiting for those deals to come along to fine tune your plans. So it is a process that begins with the demolition. And I don't know. I think the demolition is probably the hardest part, to be honest with you.
Yeah. It just because, you get them full of seats, right? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You get most buses, they can seat up to 84 passengers. And, that could translate to 40 seats are in a bus. And I think one mistake, people think they'll be able to sell the seats. And I'm telling you, no one's going to buy your bus seats. And even if you spend 2 hours taking all the rubber and cushions off of them. It's not going to be worth the 30 cents you get for the metal. So best bet is just to hope that someone comes along and takes them for free.
Yeah.
Or you could do like an outdoor movie theater with them.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. The interior build out of the bus is entirely up to the people who, there's no floor plan that's out there you can just download and, this is what we're going to do. You have to kind of come up with that on your own. Mm-hmm. You have to decide, I have 180 square feet and I want to have a queen bed or maybe a king bed. Or, okay, no, I'll go with a double bed. All these are going to dictate the details. So you want to start with the most important things in your bus. So in my opinion, the mattress is going to be probably one of the most important things in a bus, because you're going to be sleeping in it. You're not going to be in your bus constantly. It's a small space. You're going to be outside a lot. And you need to make sure that the mattress itself isn't too small. You want to get the right size mattress and then base your framing for the bedroom off of that, and then move to the kitchen area, because the kitchen's the most, popular room in any house structure. So, and the insulating process before you start framing everything in is not to be overlooked, because you lose a lot of temperature from the top and bottom of the bus and the sides and through the windows. So there's a thin foam board that you can use for the floor and to fit into the walls, or you can get spray foam insulation, and you can also get a reflective insulation to add to that, which is insulating in a different manner than traditional insulation, but it also acts as a vapor barrier. And as you know, if you're in a bathroom taking a shower, you can generate moisture relatively quickly. And that also can happen in a bus. And if you have wood that's bolted or screwed into the metal of a bus, that can create a lot of moisture and vapor buildup that could create mold in the wood or rust on the metal. So you want to make use of that vapor barrier insulation also, or just use a vapor barrier, period. So there's some details that I'm going to be covering in the book that I think a lot of folks obviously aren't going to be taking into consideration when they're even just thinking about a school bus conversion gently. So,
yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you wouldn't even necessarily think of until it becomes a problem, So that's great that you're kind of addressing
exactly.
that stuff.
Yeah, it'd be awful to. Yeah, I don't want people to build a bus and then 3 years later get sick because there's mold in the air from the bus.
Yeah,
I got to be careful not to guide people, or I don't want to advise people to put a propane hot water heater in a tight space. You need to look at the rules in a hot water heater. A propane hot water heater usually needs around 3 feet of clearance around the whole thing. And if you're trying to fit your hot water heater under your bed, that's probably not safe. So there's some details there that I'm going to try and touch on, and hopefully people will pay attention to those, and instead of jumping the gun with it will be exciting to have a school bus right away, and you're going to want everything in there. You're going to want to take a trip, but you have to do it the right way, or you'll be left with a vehicle that, your hard work, you have to go back and redo it. So other than just, I guess the planning is the most important part of, and pretty much any project, but the research and the planning for these school bus conversions is very important. There's no, hopefully my book will help, but there's not a lot of guaranteed code or techniques that are out there for this type of build.
Yeah, right. You kind of just got to jump into it and, plan your best and kind of learn as you go and stuff like that too, I'm sure.
Definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of learning as you go. You're pretty much making a puzzle. You're making all the pieces yourself and you're fitting them all together. And then when it's all done, your puzzle is there, but you never knew what it was going to look like until it was done. So it's super exciting when it's all finished and you're in it and everyone's going to love it. And if you are like me and you don't have time to use it all the time, maybe you can make a little money off putting it on like Airbnb. So
yeah, right. That's a great idea. I mean, it just seems like a win-win. You might as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think a lot of folks would be anxious to get in a big camper in my yard, but my Airbnb school bus definitely has that quirkiness that people love.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's very true. So, do you have any of your buses? Do you have a toilet or a shower?
I have an outdoor shower set up in the bus that I'm building now. So instead of having I'd say like 10 square feet of your floor space used up by a shower that you only use once every few days, if you're, in the wintertime, or if you're a light shower kind of person, the outdoor shower is a great solution, I think. And it takes away a lot of plumbing questions. Mm-hmm. Rather than have to do something with the gray water from a shower. You're just showering outside, and there's curtains that you'd hang up around, and it would, that's kind of what we're doing. And it's worked out great for us. And as far as using a toilet, we have a portable toilet that we can pull out and use if necessary. But the bus that I'm building for the book, it will have a dedicated commode room. And I'm going to stick with my outdoor shower technique because I think that's so cool to be able to have the outdoor shower. And instead of, it's great for a lot of people, especially in California, where there's a ton of folks who are doing like van and bus conversions. Mm-hmm. Instead of having to get in your vehicle dirty and covered in sand, you can just shower right outside.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's there when you need it. And then, you can always fill in with gym showers and friends' houses and stuff like that too. But I feel like it's good to have that outdoor shower when you do need it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got a ton of friends who've done showers in their buses, and they'll do like troughs that they can get like for a horse trough, and they'll paint it beautiful colors, and they're kind of a bathtub situation, which is fine. With the size bus that I'm using for the book, I was careful not to get something that I thought was too big to be comfortably driven by the average person. So if it was a larger bus, I'd probably be all good for the dedicated bathroom with the shower and the toilet. But with a bus that is this size, which can almost fit in a parking space, if you back it in and the back of the bus hangs out over the curb. Mm-hmm. This one is what I lose in space on the inside. I definitely gain in maneuverability and ease of driving.
Yeah, for sure. So have you, as far as like plumbing on your other buses, do you just kind of do like a little under sink setup, or are you doing like big tanks under the bus, or what are you doing for that?
I've done both of those. I did a gravity fed sink that would drain into an old salad bowl, a large salad bowl, and then that would drain underneath the counter to another container that we would just empty at times. And the bus that I'm building now is going to have a dedicated 46-gallon water tank in the back area, and then that will be pushed to the faucets via a 12-volt water pump, similar to what they'd use in RVs. And they use a very small amount of electricity, believe it or not. And there's also there's a device that the pump will pump water into, and it maintains pressure so that when you use little bits of water, if you're brushing your teeth or just rinsing your hands, the pump's not having to come on as often because it's already going into a reserve tank that has pressure in it from the pump when it was on before. So that saves on electricity also. And I haven't messed yet with dedicated black water tank, which would be for like sewage. But as far as gray water is concerned, especially if you're using soaps that are biodegradable and aren't harmful to the environment, you can safely dump your gray water at any RV location. So that's handy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good to keep in mind. Dang, well, this is cool. Well, man, I'm excited for you, and I can't wait to check out this book. Does it have a name or anything yet?
Right now, it's just going to be called Skoolie, Skoolie.
All right. Cool. And then is there any timeline for when that may come out?
Well, my timeline for finishing the book bus will be the end of the summer. So it might be ready as soon as this coming Christmas. So I'm thinking this maybe 2019 is when we'll see some advertising for the book, and hopefully they approve my I've been out of college for like 11 years now, and I'm starting to realize my writing is not as great as it used to be. Not that it was ever that good to begin with, but I'm trying to recuperate some of my vocabulary skills while I'm writing the book, and I'm sure that there will be some things they throw back at me to make some alterations. So I'm going to say 2019 for the book.
Cool, man. Well, super excited to check that out. So where can people connect with you if they want to see, all your buses that you're building and check in on the progress of the book?
100% through Instagram. We have a Facebook page, but it's more geared towards kind of a comedic perspective of where we live, which is West Virginia. So we kind of play off of some parodies with hillbilly and redneck videos and stuff like that we've been doing for years for fun. But that's less bus stuff and more just West Virginia comedy. But as far as following our bus builds and future updates about the book and just fun lifestyle things here, the Instagram is definitely our place to catch up with us. And that's Willbillys, WILLBILLYS.
Cool. Perfect. And I'll link to that stuff too in the description so everyone can click on that and just check you guys out right away. But man, I appreciate you coming on here, taking the time, Will. It's awesome to talk to you and hear about all this stuff and get your perspective and info and tips on how to do a skoolie conversion like this. It's cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat with you, and I'm really pumped, like I said, to be living in a time period where we can, live in vans and buses and be cool. And it's not, it's trendy, and there's a lot of takeaways from van life that we apply in bus life and vice versa. So I just love being a part of the movement, for lack of a better phrase, the movement towards being more independent and not having to live in a huge giant house that we have to work our lives away to afford. It's the freedom that we're all excited about at the end of the day.
Right. Cool, man. Well, I definitely appreciate you, and I'm sure everyone else appreciates all your help and contribution to kind of the community and all that stuff. So thanks again for being on the show, and good luck with the book and the Airbnb and everything, man. Thanks, Will.
Thank you so much. You take care.
All right, you too. Thanks, man. Bye.
Hey guys, this is Travis again. Just wanted to touch on a few things. Episode's over, so you can just turn this off and shut it off now, but had a couple things I wanted to share with you. If you want to listen, if you want to connect with me. Sorry, you might be able to hear my puppy Murphy in the background squeaking on her toy. But just want to share how you guys could connect with us at Campers and Vans Getting Coffee. If you would like, we're on Instagram at Campers and Vans Getting Coffee. We have a website called campersandvansgettingcoffee.com. We're on Facebook at Campers and Vans Getting Coffee, and we're even on Twitter at Campers and Vans Not Getting Coffee. So Twitter is just at Campers and Vans. So if you use Twitter, I'm not really big into Twitter, but you can connect with us there if you want to. That is about it. I just want to say that I appreciate you for listening and appreciate you being here, listening to the end if you are listening to this. And I would really appreciate and love, and it really helps us out if you can leave a review for this podcast. So on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this on, if you could just drop a rating and a quick review. Doesn't even have to be good. You could just be honest, but any sort of rating review really helps. Super appreciate that. And give me any tips, any thoughts, stuff you think we can improve on, or what you like, or questions that you'd like me to ask, or anything like that, or guests that you'd like to have on the show, anything like that. And you could also send me an email if you want to hello@campersandvansgettingcoffee.com. We have an email address, so you can send it there. So thanks again. Thank you for being here and being a part of this. Super appreciate you. And that's it. Have a good one. Bye.